The morning sun peeked through the windows of Atlanta General Hospital as Sarah Thompson adjusted her nurse's cap and the staff bathroom mirror. At 32 years old, she had already established herself as one of the most respected nurses in the rehabilitation ward. Her dark skin glowed with natural beauty, and her kind eyes carried the warmth that made patients feel instantly at ease. "Sarah, we need you in room 405, called out Nancy, another nurse, as she rushed past the bathroom. "The new patient is having trouble adjusting to his bed controls." Sarah quickly gathered her things and headed to room 405. She had read the patient's file earlier that morning. Marcus Chen, 35, a former software engineer who had been transferred from the intensive care unit after a severe car accident 3 months ago. The accident had left him paralyzed from the waist down. As she entered the room, Sarah found a handsome Asian man with frustrated tears in his eyes, trying desperately to reach the bed control panel that had slipped from his grasp. Without hesitation, she moved to his side. "Mr. Chen, I'm Sarah, your day nurse. Let me help you with that," she said softly, picking up the control panel and placing it within easy reach of his hand. Marcus looked up at her, and despite his obvious frustration, managed a small smile. "Thank you, and please, call me Marcus. Mr. Chen makes me feel like my father." Sarah noticed how his eyes, though tired, still held a spark of intelligence and humor. His hospital gown couldn't hide his well-maintained upper body, suggesting he had been physically active before the accident. "The controls can be tricky at first," Sarah explained, pulling up a chair beside his bed. "Would you like me to show you some easier ways to manage them?" Over the next 15 minutes, Sarah patiently demonstrated different ways Marcus could position the control panel. She also taught him some tricks for adjusting his position using his upper body strength. "You know," Marcus said, successfully adjusting his bed for the first time, "you're the first person who hasn't just done it for me. Everyone else just takes over like I'm helpless." Sarah smiled warmly. "You're not helpless, Marcus. You're just learning to do things differently now." During her shift, Sarah found herself returning to room 405 more often than strictly necessary. She discovered that Marcus had been developing educational software for children with special needs before his accident. His face lit up when he talked about his work, and Sarah found herself drawn to his passion. "The kids were my inspiration," he explained during her afternoon rounds. "Seeing them overcome challenges every day. Well, I guess I'm getting a first-hand experience of that now." His attempt at humor couldn't quite hide the pain in his voice. As Sarah checked his vital signs, they discussed everything from their favorite books to their dreams. Marcus shared his hope of returning to work someday, though his hands trembled slightly as he spoke about the future. "You know what I miss most?" he asked suddenly. "The simple things. Standing in line for coffee, running to catch the bus, walking in the park on a sunny day." Sarah felt her heart ache at his words, but she also admired his honesty. "Those things might be different now," she said gently, "but different doesn't mean impossible. We have some amazing physical therapists here." Before leaving that evening, Sarah brought Marcus a cup of coffee from the hospital cafe. "It's not exactly gourmet," she joked, "but it's better than the stuff from the patient meals." Marcus took a sip and gave her a genuine smile, the first one she'd seen all day. "It's perfect," he said. "Thank you, Sarah, not just for the coffee, but for treating me like a person, not a patient." As Sarah drove home that night, she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. Something about his spirit, his determination, and his gentle smile had touched her heart in a way she hadn't expected. Little did she know that this chance encounter would be the beginning of a love story that would change both their lives forever. That night, as she lay in bed, Sarah realized that some of life's most beautiful moments come disguised as ordinary days. Today had seemed like any other shift when she walked into the hospital, but somehow, she knew that meeting Marcus Chen would prove to be anything but ordinary. Over the next few weeks, Sarah found herself looking forward to her shifts more than ever before. Her visits to room 405 became the highlight of her day, and she noticed that Marcus seemed to brighten up whenever she walked in. One morning, Sarah arrived early to find Marcus already awake, struggling with his physical therapy exercises. Sweat dotted his forehead as he tried to strengthen his upper body. "You're here early," she said, checking his charts. "Couldn't sleep?" Marcus shook his head, determination written across his face. "I want to get stronger. Dr. Williams says I might be able to transfer myself from bed to wheelchair if I keep working at it." Sarah watched as he pushed himself through another set of exercises. His dedication touched her heart, but she also saw the flash of pain he tried to hide. You know, she said, adjusting his pillows, being strong doesn't mean you can't take breaks. Even Superman had to rest sometimes. This made Marcus laugh, a sound that was becoming more frequent during their time together. Are you comparing me to Superman, Nurse Thompson? Well, you both have that determined look in your eyes, she teased back. Their easy friendship didn't go unnoticed by others in the hospital. Sarah's colleague Nancy pulled her aside one day in the break room. Sarah, honey, be careful, Nancy whispered. I see how you look at him and how he looks at you. Remember, he's a patient, and, well, you know how complicated things could get. Sarah knew exactly what Nancy meant. It wasn't just about the nurse-patient relationship, there were other barriers too. Some people would judge them because of their different races, and others would question why a healthy woman would want to be with a disabled man. But Sarah couldn't deny the connection she felt with Marcus. During their conversations, his disability seemed to fade away. They talked about everything: his work with special needs children, her dream of opening a small clinic someday, their favorite movies, and their hopes for the future. One afternoon, while helping Marcus with his lunch, Sarah noticed him staring at a photo on his bedside table. It showed him standing on a mountain top, arms raised in triumph. Mount Rainier, he said quietly. I climbed it last year. Never thought it would be my last hike. Sarah sat down beside him. Who says it has to be your last? There are adaptive hiking programs. Different doesn't mean impossible, remember? Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with mixed emotions. Why are you so good to me, Sarah? Most people treat me like I'm made of glass now, or worse, like I'm invisible. Because I see you, Marcus, she replied honestly. Not the wheelchair, not the disability, just you. The intensity of his gaze made her heart skip a beat. For a moment, neither of them spoke, letting the weight of her words sink in. Their moment was interrupted by Dr. Williams arriving for Marcus's afternoon assessment. As Sarah turned to leave, Marcus caught her hand. Sarah, would you like to have coffee with me sometime? Real coffee, not the hospital stuff. Once I'm discharged, I mean. Sarah felt her face warm with a blush. I'd like that very much. That evening, Sarah's mother called as she was driving home. Baby, Nancy told me about this patient you're getting close to. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Mom, Marcus is an amazing person. If you met him. Sarah, life is hard enough being a black woman in this world. Why make things more complicated for yourself? Sarah gripped her steering wheel tighter. Mom, you taught me to judge people by their character. That's exactly what I'm doing. After hanging up, Sarah thought about all the barriers standing between her and Marcus: race, disability, social prejudices, family expectations. But then she remembered the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his dreams, how his smile made her day brighter, and how natural it felt just being with him. Sometimes, she realized, the biggest barriers aren't the ones the world puts in front of us, but the ones we let others build in our minds. And Sarah Thompson had decided she wasn't going to let any barriers stand in the way of what her heart was telling her. 2 months after Marcus's discharge from the hospital, Sarah sat in her favorite coffee shop, waiting for him to arrive for their regular Saturday morning meetup. These coffee dates had become the best part of her week, even though they brought new challenges with them. The bell above the door chimed, and Marcus wheeled himself in smoothly. He had gotten much stronger, and his expertise in handling his wheelchair made it look almost effortless. Several customers stared as he navigated between the tables, but Marcus kept his eyes fixed on Sarah's smiling face. Sorry I'm late, he said, positioning himself at their usual table. The elevator in my building was acting up again. Sarah pushed his usual order, caramel latte with an extra shot, toward him. I got here early anyway. How was your physical therapy session yesterday? Before Marcus could answer, an elderly woman from the next table leaned over. You're such a kind soul, dear, she said to Sarah loudly. Taking care of him like this, it's so nice to see young people volunteering with the disabled. Sarah felt her face grow hot with anger, but Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. Actually, he said to the woman with a polite smile, she's not my caregiver. She's my girlfriend. The woman's mouth formed a small O of surprise before she quickly turned away. Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand, loving how he could handle such situations with grace. You know, Marcus said after the woman left, my parents had a similar reaction when I told them about us. They couldn't understand why a beautiful, able-bodied woman would want to be with me. Sarah remembered her own family's reaction. Her mother had cried, her father had gotten angry, and her sister had accused her of trying to make her life harder on purpose. People see what they want to see, Sarah replied. They see your wheelchair or our different skin colors. They don't see how you make me laugh, or how you remember every little thing I tell you, or how you're the most determined person I've ever met. Marcus's eyes softened. Sometimes I wonder if they're right, though. You deserve someone who can dance with you, who can take long walks on the beach, who can. Stop right there, Sarah interrupted. I deserve someone who loves me completely, who challenges me to be better, who sees me for who I am. That's you, Marcus. The rest is just details we can figure out together. Later that afternoon, they visited the park near Marcus's apartment. It had become their favorite spot, with wide, smooth paths that were easy for his wheelchair. Children often stared at them, the black woman walking beside the Asian man in the wheelchair, but Sarah had learned to smile back at their innocent curiosity. My company called today, Marcus said as they stopped by the duck pond. They want me to come back to work. Hard time at first, but still. Sarah's face lit up. Marcus, that's wonderful news. They're letting me work mainly from home, with just 2 days in the office. They're even making modifications to my workspace. He paused, looking uncertain. But some of my colleagues, they've been weird about us dating. I overheard them wondering if you're with me for my money, or if I'm with you because I can't do better in my condition. Sarah knelt beside his wheelchair, not caring who saw them. Listen to me, Marcus Chen. People will always talk. They'll always find reasons why we shouldn't be together. But the only people who need to believe in us are you and me. Marcus touched her cheek gently. When did you get so wise? I learned it from this amazing software engineer who taught me that limitations only exist if we accept them. As they watched the sunset paint the sky in beautiful colors, Sarah realized that love wasn't about ignoring differences or pretending challenges didn't exist. It was about choosing someone every day, despite the obstacles. It was about finding strength in each other when the world tried to tear them apart. Later that night, as Sarah drove home, she thought about how some people saw their relationship as a burden, a challenge, or a mistake. But she knew better. In a world that often seemed divided by race, ability, and prejudice, their love was not a weakness. It was an act of quiet revolution. The hospital rooftop had always been Sarah and Marcus's special place. Even after his discharge, they would sometimes meet there during her break, watching the Atlanta skyline and sharing quiet moments together. Tonight, though, Marcus had been acting strange, checking his phone repeatedly and seeming distracted. Is everything okay? Sarah asked, wrapping her nurse's jacket tighter around herself in the cool evening air. You seem nervous. Me? Nervous? Marcus's laugh came out a bit shaky. Maybe a little. I've been practicing something, and I'm not sure if I'll get it right. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Practicing what? Just give me a minute. Marcus wheeled himself a few feet away, positioning himself under the string of lights they had helped the maintenance staff put up for the hospital's Christmas decoration. Sarah watched curiously as Marcus took several deep breaths. Then, to her amazement, he began to move his wheelchair in a pattern she had never seen before. Using one hand to control the chair, he made it spin and move in smooth, graceful movements, almost like a dance. Marcus, that's incredible, Sarah exclaimed. When did you learn to do that? I've been practicing for weeks, he said, slightly out of breath but smiling. But that's not the most important part. Then, with movements that spoke of hours of practice, Marcus reached into his jacket pocket with his free hand while keeping the wheelchair steady. Sarah's heart skipped a beat when she saw the small velvet box in his hand. Sarah Thompson, Marcus began, his voice full of emotion. When I was in that hospital bed, feeling like my life was over, you showed me that it was just beginning differently. You never saw my wheelchair as a barrier. You saw past our differences and straight into my heart. Tears began to form in Sarah's eyes as Marcus continued. I practiced for months to be able to do this, to hold this ring and control my chair at the same time, because I wanted to show you that I'll always find a way to create special moments for you, no matter what challenges we face. Sarah covered her mouth with her hands as Marcus opened the box, revealing a beautiful silver ring with a small diamond. I know life with me won't always be easy. There will be challenges, stares, and people who don't understand. But I promise to love you more with each passing day, to be your partner in every sense of the word, and to never stop finding ways to make you smile. Sarah, Marcus's voice cracked slightly with emotion. Will you marry me? For a moment, Sarah couldn't speak. She thought about their journey, from nurse and patient to friends to lovers. She thought about her family's objections, the societal prejudices they faced, and all the obstacles that had tried to keep them apart. Then she thought about Marcus's strength, his determination to surprise her with this beautiful proposal, and the love that had grown between them despite everything. Yes, she whispered, then louder, yes, yes, absolutely yes. She knelt beside his wheelchair, and Marcus slipped the ring onto her finger with slightly trembling hands. As they embraced, the door to the rooftop opened, and several nurses, doctors, and hospital staff emerged, clapping and cheering. You were all in on this? Sarah asked, laughing through her tears. Of course we were, Nancy said, hugging her. Marcus has been practicing his wheelchair moves in the physical therapy room for months. And you know what? You two just proved that love knows no bounds. Even Dr. Williams was there, smiling proudly. When Marcus first came to me with this idea, I thought he was setting himself up for frustration. But he was determined to propose in a way that showed you his progress and his dedication. Sarah turned back to Marcus, who was beaming with joy. You amazing man, she said, kissing him softly. You never cease to surprise me. Under the twinkling lights of the rooftop, surrounded by their hospital family, Sarah and Marcus began the next chapter of their story. They both knew there would be more challenges ahead, more obstacles to overcome. But in that moment, with the ring sparkling on her finger and their hearts full of love, nothing seemed impossible. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear. Sarah stood in front of the mirror in the bridal suite of the Golden Gardens Hotel, hardly recognizing herself in the beautiful white dress that flowed around her like a cloud. Her mother stood behind her, carefully adjusting her veil. I was wrong about him, her mother said softly, meeting Sarah's eyes in the mirror. Marcus is a wonderful man, and I'd never seen you happier. Sarah smiled, remembering how her parents had slowly changed their minds over the past year. It started when Marcus came to Sunday dinner, charming them with his intelligence and humor. By the time he helped her father set up a new computer system for his small business, they had forgotten all their previous objections. In another room of the hotel, Marcus was preparing with his best man, Tommy, his physical therapist who had become a close friend. They had been practicing something special for months, and Marcus's heart raced with both excitement and nervousness. You've got this, Tommy assured him, helping him with his bow tie. We've practiced 100 times. Just remember to breathe. The ceremony space looked magical. The hotel's garden had been transformed with white chairs, flower arches, and ribbons flowing in the gentle breeze. What made it special were the thoughtful details: wider aisles for Marcus's wheelchair, a slightly lowered altar platform, and comfortable seating arranged to ensure everyone had a perfect view. As the music began to play, Marcus took his position at the front. His heart nearly stopped when he saw Sarah walking down the aisle. Her dark skin glowed with happiness, and her eyes shone with tears of joy. Her father walked beside her, proudly escorting his daughter toward her future husband. The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. They had written their own vows, speaking from their hearts about love, acceptance, and breaking through barriers. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience when Marcus spoke about how Sarah had taught him that different doesn't mean less, and when Sarah promised to always see the person behind any challenge they might face. Then came the moment they had planned for months. As the minister announced their first dance as husband and wife, Tony wheeled a special frame onto the dance floor. With practiced movements, Marcus transferred himself into it, a standing frame that would allow him to dance with his bride. Sarah's eyes widened in surprise as Marcus slowly rose to his full height, supported by the frame. The guests gasped and then broke into applause as Marcus stood before them, tall and proud. "May I have this dance?" he asked, extending his hand to Sarah. As they swayed together to their chosen song, 1,000 Years, Sarah couldn't hold back her tears. Marcus had found a way to stand with her, to dance with her, showing once again that love finds a way. "I can't believe you did this," she whispered. I wanted to look into your eyes as we danced. Marcus replied softly. Just like I'll always find ways to share special moments with you. The reception was a joyful celebration of their love. Marcus's relatives from China mixed with Sarah's large extended family, sharing stories, food, and laughter. Children ran around playfully, occasionally stopping to ask Marcus for wheelchair rides, which he happily provided. Nancy, who had first warned Sarah about getting too close to a patient, gave a touching speech about how their love had changed her perspective on what was possible. Dr. Williams raised a toast to the couple who had proved that love knows no limitations. As the evening drew to a close, Sarah and Marcus shared a quiet moment in the hotel garden. The fairy lights twinkled above them like stars, and the soft sound of music and laughter drifted from the reception. Are you happy? Marcus asked, holding his wife's hand. Sarah looked at their intertwined fingers, his strong and capable, hers gentle and caring. More than I ever thought possible, she answered truthfully. They had done it. Despite every obstacle, every doubt, and every person who said it couldn't work, they had found their way to this perfect moment. Their wedding wasn't just a celebration of their love. It was a testament to the power of seeing beyond differences and believing in possibilities. Life as newlyweds brought both joys and challenges for Sarah and Marcus. Their new apartment, carefully chosen for its accessibility, had become a perfect blend of both their styles. Marcus had transformed the spare room into a high-tech home office, while Sarah added warm touches throughout their home with photos and comfortable furnishings. One morning, as Sarah prepared for her hospital shift, she found Marcus already awake in his office, typing rapidly on his computer. His face glowed with excitement. You're up early, she said, bringing him a cup of coffee. New project? Marcus's eyes sparkled. Remember those educational games I used to develop for special needs children? I've been working on something new, software that helps disabled people control their home environments more easily. Sarah watched as he demonstrated the program. Using simple voice commands or eye movements, people could control lights, temperature, and even kitchen appliances. Marcus, this is amazing, she exclaimed. Working from home has given me more time to think about solutions, he explained. Being disabled showed me gaps in existing technology that I never noticed before. Their daily routine had found its own rhythm. Sarah would come home from her nursing shifts to find Marcus cooking dinner. He had become quite skilled at preparing meals from his wheelchair, though there had been some funny disasters in the learning process. One evening, as they enjoyed Marcus's latest culinary creation, only slightly burnt stir-fry, Sarah shared her own news. The hospital is starting a new rehabilitation program, and they want me to lead it. It would mean more responsibility, but also more flexible hours. Marcus reached across the table to squeeze her hand. That's wonderful. You've worked so hard for this. Their life wasn't without its challenges. Some days, Marcus struggled with pain and frustration when his body wouldn't cooperate. Sarah learned to recognize when he needed help and when he needed space to figure things out on his own. They also faced ongoing prejudice. At a restaurant one evening, a waiter addressed only Sarah, asking her what he would like to eat. Marcus handled it with his usual grace, but Sarah saw the hurt in his eyes. You know what bothers me most? Marcus said later that night. Not the wheelchair or the physical limitations. It's when people assume I can't think or speak for myself. Sarah listened, understanding his frustration. Then we'll keep showing them differently, one person at a time. Their families had become surprisingly close. Sarah's mother often brought over home-cooked meals, and Marcus's parents regularly visited from California, bringing traditional Chinese dishes and teaching Sarah their family recipes. One Sunday afternoon, during a family gathering, Sarah's young nephew Tommy became fascinated with Marcus's wheelchair. Can you do any tricks? Tommy asked eagerly. Instead of being offended, Marcus grinned. Want to see something cool? He demonstrated some of the wheelchair moves he'd learned for his proposal, making Tommy squeal with delight. Uncle Marcus is awesome, Tommy declared to everyone, making the adults laugh and bringing tears to both families' eyes at how naturally he had accepted Marcus into the family. Their professional lives flourished too. Marcus's software company began to grow, attracting attention from disability advocacy groups. Sarah's new rehabilitation program was helping more patients recover and adapt to their new circumstances. Late one night, As they sat on their accessible balcony looking at the stars, Marcus turned to Sarah. "Do you ever regret choosing this life? It's not exactly conventional." Sarah looked at their home, thought about their families, their careers, and the life they built together. "Conventional is overrated," she said with a smile. "I chose love, and love chose right." As their first wedding anniversary approached, Marcus spent more time in physical therapy, though he wouldn't tell Sarah why. He also had mysterious phone calls that he'd end quickly when she entered the room. "Just trust me," he'd say with a secretive smile whenever she asked about it. Sarah didn't know it yet, but Marcus was working on something that would change their lives forever. A surprise that would prove once again that love, determination, and innovation could overcome any obstacle. As their first wedding anniversary drew closer, Sarah noticed more and more mysterious changes in Marcus's behavior. He was spending long hours at physical therapy sessions, coming home exhausted but with a secret smile on his face. His phone would buzz constantly with messages that he'd quickly hide from her view. One evening, Sarah came home early from her shift to find Marcus on a video call with someone. She caught a glimpse of complex medical diagrams on his computer screen before he quickly minimized them. "Sarah, you're home early," he said, looking startled but excited. "How was your day?" "Fine," she replied, raising an eyebrow. "Those looked like medical diagrams. Is everything okay? Are you feeling sick?" Marcus wheeled over to kiss her cheek. "Everything's perfect. Just working on a special project. You'll know all about it soon." Sarah tried not to worry, but she couldn't help noticing how Marcus was pushing himself harder than ever in his physical therapy sessions. Tommy, his therapist, was coming to their house almost daily now, and they would spend hours behind closed doors in Marcus's home office. One day, Sarah ran into Dr. Williams at the hospital. "Your husband is quite remarkable," he said with a mysterious smile. "The progress he's making, well, you'll see soon enough." "Progress?" Sarah asked, confused. "What do you mean?" But Dr. Williams just winked and walked away, leaving Sarah even more puzzled. Marcus's parents started visiting more frequently too. His mother would cook his favorite meals, saying he needed to keep his strength up. His father spent long hours with him in the office, discussing something in rapid Mandarin that Sarah couldn't understand. "Just tell me you're not doing anything dangerous," Sarah said one night, as they got ready for bed. She noticed how tired Marcus looked, but also how his arms had grown stronger, his shoulders broader from all the extra exercise. "I promise I'm not doing anything dangerous," Marcus assured her. "But I am doing something amazing. Something that will change our lives." Sarah's mother had noticed the changes too. During their weekly lunch date, she couldn't help commenting on it. "That husband of yours is up to something big," she said, stirring her coffee. "He called your father and me last week, asked for our blessing for something. He seemed nervous but excited." "Blessing?" Sarah repeated. "But we're already married." Her mother just smiled knowingly. "Sometimes the biggest surprises come after the wedding, baby." At work, Sarah noticed some of her colleagues acting strange too. Nancy would giggle whenever she saw her, and even Dr. Williams seemed to be in on whatever was happening. She caught glimpses of hushed conversations that stopped whenever she approached. 2 weeks before their anniversary, Marcus started having meetings with important-looking people in business suits. They would arrive at their apartment carrying thick folders and leave looking excited and impressed. "Just some investors," Marcus would say casually when Sarah asked. "They're interested in my new software projects." But Sarah knew it was more than that. She'd overheard phrases like revolutionary technology and medical breakthrough when passing by his office door. The weekend before their anniversary, Sarah came home to find several large boxes being delivered to their apartment. When she tried to peek inside one, Marcus playfully shooed her away. "Patience, my love," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Just a few more days." That night, as they sat together watching their favorite show, Sarah noticed Marcus checking his phone again, reading what looked like medical test results. "You know," she said, trying to sound casual, "most husbands just buy flowers or jewelry for their first anniversary." Marcus laughed, pulling her close. "When have we ever been like most couples? Trust me, Sarah. What I'm planning, it's better than flowers or jewelry. It's something that will show you that dreams really do come true." As Sarah fell asleep that night, she could hear Marcus still up, moving around in his office, talking softly on the phone. Whatever he was planning, She had never seen him so dedicated, so focused, so full of purpose. Their first year of marriage had been beautiful, but something told her their second year would be even more extraordinary. On the morning of their first wedding anniversary, Sarah woke up to find Marcus already gone from their bed. Instead, she found a note on his pillow. "Meet me at the hospital rehabilitation center at 10 a.m. Wear something nice. Love, Marcus." Sarah's heart raced as she got ready, choosing a beautiful blue dress that Marcus loved. When she arrived at the hospital, she was surprised to see both their families there, along with Dr. Williams, Tony, and several people she didn't recognize in business suits. Nancy met her at the entrance, practically bouncing with excitement. "Come on," she said, leading Sarah to the main rehabilitation room. "You're about to see something amazing." The room had been transformed. Medical equipment had been pushed to the sides, and a small stage had been set up at one end. Chairs were arranged in rows, filled with their loved ones and what looked like reporters and medical professionals. Dr. Williams stepped onto the stage with a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming today. We're here to witness not just a celebration of love, but a breakthrough in medical technology." Sarah's confusion grew as she watched Marcus wheel himself onto the stage. He looked handsome in a crisp suit, his eyes shining with excitement and nervousness. "Sarah," Marcus began, his voice full of emotion, "for the past 6 months, I've been working on something special. Remember how I told you that being disabled helped me see gaps in technology? Well, I didn't just see the gaps, I found a way to bridge them." He gestured to Tony, who brought out what looked like a sleek, high-tech set of leg braces, but these were unlike anything Sarah had seen before in her nursing career. "With help from brilliant doctors and engineers, I've developed what we call the neural bridge system," Marcus explained. "It uses artificial intelligence to reconnect interrupted nerve pathways. We've been testing it for months, and today." Marcus paused, taking a deep breath. Then, with Tony's help, he attached the braces to his legs. They were so thin and lightweight, they barely showed under his pants. "Today," he continued, "I want to give you your anniversary gift." Sarah gasped as Marcus pushed a button on his wheelchair's arm. The braces hummed softly to life. Then, slowly but surely, Marcus began to stand. There wasn't a dry eye in the room as Marcus rose to his full height, the braces supporting him perfectly. But he wasn't done. With concentrated effort, he took one step forward, then another, and another. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. She rushed to the stage as Marcus actually walked, toward her. "Happy anniversary, my love," he said, standing before her without any support except the barely visible braces. "But this isn't just for us. The company that helped develop this technology has offered to buy my software and fund the mass production of these devices. We're going to help thousands of people walk again." Sarah threw her arms around him, and for the first time in their relationship, Marcus was able to hold her while standing. The room erupted in applause and cheers. "That's not all," Marcus continued, his voice thick with emotion. "The sale of the technology. Sarah, we're going to be able to open that clinic you've always dreamed of. A place where people can get the best rehabilitative care regardless of their ability to pay." Cameras flashed as Marcus and Sarah embraced, their miracle moment being captured for medical journals and news stories. But for them, the only thing that mattered was this moment, standing together, proving that love and determination could make the impossible possible. "You did all this in secret?" Sarah asked, still amazed. "The extra therapy, the meetings, the medical diagrams." Marcus smiled, wiping away her tears. "I wanted to stand with you on our anniversary, to show you that when you believed in me, believed in us, you weren't just believing in love, you were believing in miracles." As their families surrounded them with hugs and congratulations, Sarah looked at her husband, the man who had defied all odds, broken through all barriers, and turned their love story into one of hope for thousands of others. "Different doesn't mean impossible," she whispered their old saying. "No," Marcus agreed, standing tall and proud beside his wife. "Different just means finding a new way to make dreams come true."